Hey there. Thanks so much for tuning in to Channel Maven Podcast. Today, I'm joined by Meghan Wilkinson of Centurylink. She is their VP of Application Engineering and Sales Enablement, not a small job. And we get to talk about being a parent in a pandemic and in lockdown. Hope you enjoy it. So, Meghan Wilkinson of Centurylink, thank you so much for joining us on our Channel Maven podcast. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me on this Monday morning. Craziness.
Monday morning in a pandemic.
In a pandemic, no less, yes.
Kind of looks like Tuesday and Wednesday and Saturday.
I know. What is Monday these days? Who knows, right?
So Tell us a little bit about, you have a fairly new role at Centurylink right now. Tell us a little bit about that first.
Yeah, I always like change. You know, I think the environment's forcing that a little bit more than I would prefer, but here we go. So 7 months ago, I took on a role to lead IT enterprise transformation. And then recently kind of reorged again. That really drives the commercial excellence from an end-to-end perspective. So in very simplistic terms, what I do is I lead development and application teams, as well as sales and business enablement that drives growth for our enterprise sales community for Centurylink. So it's a fascinating role to have, especially right now. Right. Yeah, so it's exciting.
Well, and I think that's huge. That's something that, you know, when we all moved home and we all started working from home, technology and specifically our network and availability, just like the desire for that and need for that just went through the roof. So you guys must be kind of slammed.
Yeah, you know, I always said I always wanted to work feeling like I made a difference and understanding how to make a difference. And I could kind of grasp at that. You know, we always say Centurylink is the backbone of the network, and that is what we do. And I totally believe in all of that. And I will tell you, when you're hit face front with it, it all makes sense suddenly. Because not only are we trying to make sure our customers stay afloat, but we moved 85% of our workforce overnight to work from home. And that causes some ripple effects on application performance. And we want to make sure things just don't shut down, because you and I talking together is important, you know?
It is. And our
quarantine people, yeah. So yeah, it's cool. It's cool to see.
That's great. Well, you and I wanted to chat today because I feel like we are both those working moms. First of all, when everybody talks about being a working mom and they go around and say how old their kids are, and they're like 7 and 10 and 12. And then they ask us and I'm like 2 and 4. And you're like,
I'm like, oh, just over 1, and I have 2 twins. Yeah, so there you go. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then they go, oh.
Yeah, how do you do it?
How do you do that? Why are you working? Because if I didn't work, my kids would hate me.
Yeah, because that's how we become the best moms we can, right? We have to work. So
without a doubt. So what does that look like for us? Like, both of us are totally spoiled. We have live-in childcare.
Totally. Yeah.
Totally spoiled. But there's so much more than just that. I mean, I am now running downstairs at 9:30 to make sure my 2-year-old can get on her group meeting with her preschool class, because that's important. Yeah. And also making sure they know how much you love them, but please stay out of my office.
Yeah.
What's that looking like for you these days?
You know, I think it's always a balance, regardless of whether you're in your house or you're on a plane or you're going to the office. Because it's the kids understanding it, and that changes in every chapter, as you know, with children. Mine are becoming almost walking, and they're connecting dots, and while they can't speak, they definitely understand words, and they're definitely understanding the tantrum phase of like them not getting their way. And so the distance is important regardless, because yes, very fortunate, very blessed that I have help with the kids 24/7, because there's no way we could be talking effectively right now about it. And so it's giving her the space as well to establish that relationship and those boundaries with the kids, and then continuing to establish the boundaries with the kids that you would have on any normal day. but now you're in a different part of the house. And so them just understanding like mom's at work, you know, and like, it doesn't matter where mom is, like, this is something that's necessary.
That's important.
Yeah. It's super
something
important.
I initially started, like, I'd walk out the front door and be like, bye, have a good day. And then I'd just like text the au pair, please, you know, go down to the playroom. And then I'd sneak back in the front door. And they caught me. I was actually on the phone with someone we did a podcast with, and you hear, Mom? And the woman was like, you're totally busted. But I think it's important, instead of saying, oh, I'm so sorry I have to go to work, that we say, mommy's really excited to go to work and you get to play with your friends and mommy really likes what she does, and that it's rewarding. It makes them want to work. I mean, my 2-year-old now, well, just wait till they start talking. This one does not shut up.
Oh, I bet.
Crawls into my chair when I'm not there and says, I have a call, because that's what she
good.
hears me saying. I have to get on a call.
Yeah.
So how
it teaches them responsibility, right? It teaches them.
Totally.
And I mean, in very simplistic terms, like the way in which they have the resources they have is in part because we work. I mean, there's a sanity part to it. I enjoy it. It is fulfilling to me, but there's also a monetary aspect to work. And so I think kids understanding that shows them the strength, and that anyone can do it. Mom and dad can both do the work part. So, yeah.
Or mom and mom, or dad and dad, or
dad and dad, mom and mom,
and grandpa, or
cousin and cousin. I mean, it's that landscape changes by the day right now. So whoever needs to raise the kids, yes, absolutely.
Whoever their people are.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. I like that, Heather.
We've been saying, you know, they love their childcare person. So we've been saying, you know, she wouldn't be here if mommy didn't work, she would not be here.
Yeah.
And then I resort to when I'm getting pushback, I resort to and then we would have to live in a tent. Do you want to live in a tent? I don't want to live in a tent. I like camping.
I think that's cool for like a week, and then
I don't know. My girls are girly girls. They might think it's cool for like 45 minutes.
That's true. I have boys, so they would be like totally cool with it.
Awesome. Yeah. So how do we help the other women who are out there know that it's okay? I hear so many people apologizing that their kids walking in the room, or that there's a baby crying in the background. Like, I'm fine with it. We're all in this together. What sort of things do we have to ensure that our employees know, that our clients know, that our vendors know that it's okay?
Yeah, it's so interesting. I was in India at the beginning of January, kind of funny time to be right before everything happened. But, and I was speaking to a women's group there, because women are women across the globe. Like, regardless, we have certain innate qualities that we do all want. And they were trying to talk about leadership. Now, culturally, there are some differences.
Totally.
But it's interesting when you talk with people about your experiences and stuff. And I said, you need to ask for things. Like, women don't ask for it. And guess what? Guys have families. Guys get on planes. Like, they don't apologize for it. They ask for things they need. They don't bring it into their fabric. I think it's a beautiful thing that, well, not all men, but okay, we're going to go with majority comments right now. So just black and white. But we tend to talk about it, right? Because we're women, like, we're a little more emotional at times. It doesn't mean it's any different though. And so it's fascinating to me when we have these conversations, and I was having it with these women, I said, you just have to ask for it. And they said, well, we feel like if we ask for it, then we may not get the promotion. And I said, that's in our heads. See, that's in our heads as women, because we have done something to say, it shows our vulnerability, or it shows that maybe, no, my kid is. That somebody's keeping track. I've been on multiple calls with my work colleagues, of which most are men. I'm in the telecom industry, right?
Right.
And they just sit on their laps. And the minute it happens with a woman on a call, lots of comments. With a guy, you keep doing business. It is fascinating right now to see. But I often get comments when I'm traveling as well, like, oh, do you miss your kids? And I'm like, do you have kids? And they'll be like, yeah. And I'm like, do you miss your kids? Like, it's the same thing.
Right.
So I think we just need to stop treating it like it's different. It's not different. We just happen to be different genders, but we're all parents at some point if we're having those conversations. And so we've got to get past this, like, women, man kind of thing. Like if you're working, and it doesn't really matter. And guess what? Like I'm doing my job. Like this is what I want to do.
Right.
If I didn't want to do it, I wouldn't be doing it.
I can honestly do my job better if the 2 or the 4-year-old walk into the room, they say hi to whoever's on the screen, and then they walk out. Like then they're fine. You know, if we keep trying to be like, shh, mommy's on a call, like just put the kid on your lap, have the conversation. They'll be distracted by something else.
And we're not robots. I mean, we forget this. And I think one of the most beautiful things about what's going on right now is it's the one thing ever in our life that we all can have a commonality around. So, I mean, whether we laugh about toilet paper and milk consumption right now, and or whether we get like emotional about what's happening economically or with our jobs, like it's one thing that tangibly across the globe, we all can have a commonality around. And human beings are not good at that commonality. Well, we all have family. We all have lives outside of work. And we tend to think like when we come into work, like we can just turn that off and put the emotion aside. And being vulnerable makes us even better at what we do. And so it's like, yeah, that's my kid. Like say hi. Okay, now back to everything else. Like it doesn't mean I can't still have a productive, honest conversation with you. You just happen to just get introduced to my kid. Okay, now back to business, you know, like.
What are some of the things, let's sort of talk higher level, where are we going? How do you think, once we're all back in our offices, how do you think this is changing the way that we parent or the way that people respond to us as parents?
Oh man, I think it's going to change so much stuff. I mean, I have wrapped my head around, we are never going, well, you never go back anyway, but I think there's a perception like we're going to open the floodgates again and just go back to
like there'll be a light switch that,
like, no,
I agree.
Like things just drastically changed. I think the way in which we parent changes in a few aspects. I think we can be kinder to ourselves a little bit. While habits and routine are I'm a very big routine person. I believe in habits, like working from home. Like I have a morning routine, one, because I'm still going to work. Like I'm not rolling out of bed and showing up on Zoom with you, right? So there's do some workout or do something that gets me energized, like good to take a shower, good to get dressed out of my pajamas, like that kind of thing. So I think routine is very good for kids, right? We know this. We know that them having that discipline helps them more than having this like free-for-all everything. They can't grasp to that. But it also is making us kind with ourselves of saying, I love technology because it is a necessary evil in today's landscape, but also like, I know screen time for kids, studies have shown all of that. Well, you have to be on a conference call, like the kids aren't going to die if they need to have more screen time than you traditionally thought was appropriate, right? And so I think it's going to change the landscape of relationships too. I think it also changes the landscape of how they receive education for the near term future. And having kindness with ourselves as parents is to, we don't have to be the know-all be-all, like you said, like we both have nannies and stuff, like we are going to need a village to help us with the kids. And I also think like it's going to change our awareness of some of those innate qualities with our kids, whether they're introverts or extroverts, and saying, okay, there's kindness and compassion on what's working or what's not working for our kids. And we always knew there wasn't this one size fits all, but there was this societal thing like, okay, they have to have all these activities and they need to be doing all this. And this time has given us that grace of, you know, they seem to be doing just fine. And kids are pretty resilient creatures. And last I checked, like nothing's fallen off the rails. But it's not going according to my plan. Okay, that's okay. That's fine, right?
You definitely have to adapt and think about it in terms of smaller wins. So like making sure that your kids still have something they can talk about through their day. Yeah. And if they did, I will say, we watch way more movies. It snowed 18 inches here, as you know, being in Denver.
Yes. Yeah.
And we watched way more movies than I ever intended for my kids. But then having a conversation about the movie, like we're watching Frozen and look at that dynamic with those two sisters. And I think it's important that you're still engaging your kids, even if they are getting more screen time than they're supposed to, and they're not taking swim lessons. And they, although I will say, I think my 2-year-old is going to be fluent in Portuguese because our au pair is from Brazil. It's pretty awesome.
Well, it's like that be here now, like you're having those real conversations with your kids. It might not have been in the same context as you thought you would be having them, but I think that's okay. I mean, I was listening to a podcast the other day of having the grace of like, okay, maybe mornings and evenings are really your routine, and kind of having your flexibility during the day. So it's not like they have to have the snack here and they have to do this homework assignment and they need to do this. It's like, as long they're going to grow into these beautiful creatures, and we just tend to think it needs to be more regimented than it does. So I think that's what's going to change the most. So I don't see things opening up right away. So
agreed.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you're looking forward to in your work life? Like, what are some of the exciting things that we can be looking forward to?
From a Centurylink perspective in general, I think really we are looking at how to transform. We were already looking at that from a digitalization of the customer experience. And so it's a really cool time because we are in give it about a month and a half, and we're launching a digital experience holistically for a medium enterprise. And so what's cool is you're launching it within a time that everybody just went digital.
Yeah.
So this whole, what we were going to have to teach or train, or what we thought we were going to have to get people used to, they're now used to it. Like they've been living and breathing it. So that's cool. I think just staying on the forefront of the transformation, you know, it's breaking down barriers of what we thought we couldn't do, or as how fast we could work and partner together to drive growth. And when you are in an environment that makes you realize like you can actually do more than you thought. And then just partnering. I mean, we all know like some of us are going to make it out of this in the same and more strategic and growth fashion, and some of us are not, and that is okay. That's what these economic times tend to do. So it is also bringing communities together in the technology space that I think is really cool, because it's leveraging our strengths to say we're all going to have to give and get a little here.
Right.
So how do we do that to partner effectively together, knowing if we all just kind of stayed in our bubbles and silos, like we would all fall down.
Right. Well, and I know you used to be in the channel. We're seeing that a lot now, where different channel partners have either regionally, they have more access and they can still, you know, socially distance and do some sort of an implementation if they partner with another partner. And those partner businesses together are much stronger than they would be alone. So that's been really beautiful to see.
I think it's leveraging strengths, right? Channel's a great example of it, because they were almost at that cusp of needing to make that change, and this is absolutely forcing it to come to the front burner. So it's exciting.
Awesome. Well, Meghan, thank you so much for joining. Anything we didn't ask you that we should have?
No, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. There's so much to talk about, but no, I appreciate it. I think just, you know, trust that we all are just having these great, crazy ideas right now, and there's no wrong answer to them, especially being a parent. Like, have kindness for yourself, and you can still be a badass and be a mom that's working at the same time. So
I pride myself on being a badass, even though I'm standing in my house barefoot, by the way. I don't have an issue. Why would I put shoes on?
That is badass, okay? Like,
totally.
It doesn't matter how you define it. So yeah, no, I appreciate the time, and look forward to hearing more podcasts from you guys. So thanks.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. Meghan, if people want to find you, how do they get a hold of you?
Sure. LinkedIn is probably the best. So Meghan Wilkinson, Meghan Hombacher Wilkinson, I guess is how you find me on LinkedIn, but that's a great way. And it has my Twitter and all my social feeds off of it. So start there.
Very cool. Yeah. Thank you for the time. Enjoy some outdoor time in beautiful Colorado. We're very lucky to be here.
We are indeed. You too. Thanks for the time, Heather.